Welcome to the Responsible Parent Podcast, where overwhelmed families curious about naturally regulating their nervous system can find answers. I'm your host, Caylie, and in each episode, I'll cover a topic you've been wanting to understand more about and serve as a reminder for you that everything is cyclical and connected. As you listen along to this podcast series, some episodes will be connecting you to others who are choosing how to be responsible with the time and space they have here on our beautiful planet. Some will be me communicating what I've learned on being responsible with our connections to nature, God, ourselves, and business. But some episodes are more like the most intimate journal entries on my path to understanding what it means to be a responsible parent. Today's episode is exactly that. Something delicious for me lives in Thursdays. They feel like late summer, like Libra season, like reading old books typewritten on worn in beige paper on a soft blanket during warm sunsets. Thursdays smell like rain and get me into the mode of philosophizing and theorizing. So I will take my Thursday to do just that with you. Thank you for allowing me to trust you enough to open up. I am so grateful that we are connected. When taking stock of my position in life, I often have found myself in endless loops of trying to be something to as many people as possible. But I am already everything to one person, my daughter. And to be honest, I feel I'm doing a rather lackluster job at it. You see, when I was younger, I dreamt of being a mom. Not to have something to love, but to have something to reveal the magic of this world to share in the sparkling excitement of life on earth. A large majority of the people I was surrounded by my entire adolescence found comfort in communal displeasure, complaining about the weather or people who had more money than them, groaning about the wait with the telephone company or the disdain of their spouse. I couldn't wait to create a different experience for my children, one that I lived in, mostly alone, but a reality that was absolutely not made up. So again, I am already everything to one person, my daughter. And when I give myself a gut check, because there are many cues letting me know that I need to, I feel I'm doing a rather lackluster job at it. She has educational needs that are not being met. I don't mean pushing her off into any accredited school so I can check the box. I mean finding a curriculum that fits her learning style. She has nutritional needs that aren't currently being met. Is free, damaging food really more convenient than highly nutritional food that you pay a lot of money for? When you weigh the cost, on one hand, you have time or money spent doing things that you love, for example, gardening. And on the other hand, you have an unknowable amount of medical bills, diseases that never truly get pinned down in a cycle of uncomfortable symptoms and a lesser quality of life. The most convenient option no longer seems like the free meal. She has relationship needs that are not being met. Again, I don't mean making sure she's in a neighborhood that has kids in it and has time with her family, but I mean placing her in an environment with people who actually inspire and encourage her to grow into the best version of herself. And imagine this. If a large majority of people she interacts with on a daily basis are inspiring and encouraging, I mean, what a life. Along with others, along with other needs that are not being met, my daughter's life isn't as magical as I once thought I would help make it be for her. So every now and again, because life is incredibly cyclical. It's time to stir the pot of our lifestyle and habits so I can see what crud rises to the top that I need to skim out. And with that comes the action of skimming. Let me repeat that, the action of skimming. A connected life requires something of your body, including the emotional feelings of your body, because the mind is a computer that can easily be reprogrammed, right? To this point, I bring up the dowsing or divining rod, I think it's called. I've only read about it. I haven't actually talked to crazies like me who believe in this, but have you heard of it? I'm sure you've at least seen it in movies or documentaries. It's an ancient but still modern mechanism of using branches, vines, and sometimes metal rods to locate water underground by placing them loosely in your hands and walking a property until the rods point down or perform other actions that let you know that the water is indeed under them. Your mind could spend weeks deliberating on where the correct area and depth could be to drill for groundwater, but nature speaks to nature. It's much easier just to listen. I find this relationship of nature and man similar to telling a toddler not to touch a hot stove. The toddler doesn't have to listen, but your intentions were to aid the toddler with the solution. Similarly, our bodies are always being guided by energies. We get to choose to listen. I digress. In our heads, we build up, leaving the least convenient option to be much more difficult than it really is. For example, not having my daughter spend the summer with my family would mean I need to spend years of trying to find the right community, find the money, which, given my current salary, may take a decade, unless I want to sacrifice buying a home and continue renting, right? That's actually just the story in my head. The reality is, I can assign that finding her the right daily environment and community is my top priority. I can write that down. I could take a hot second when I read it to create the feeling in my body of that written statement. Then I can clear my head, move my body, eat right, and pray hard for the days to come. I can see my top priority falling into place. Let my mind and body believe it's already here. Then start a feeling for the options that align. I can put up a post-it and a screensaver that read, I am so grateful that Olive has a nourishing daily environment, and I have. After all, taking a few seconds on a post-it doesn't seem as daunting as a few years of consistent Googling and peer reviews, right? But accomplishing and familiarizing myself with the feeling of her nourishing daily environment will make it more obvious to me when the right opportunities begin to emerge. I won't have to question it because it's not a mental game of what I think is right, but instead what I feel is right. To know the feeling in order to be familiar when that feeling comes again. And especially as women, our internal guidance system is rarely misguided. I'll give you an example. Oops, sorry. I'll give you an example of a time where the reality of the solution was much more simple than what my mind tried to make it out to be. We were house sitting at my ex's parents' homestead. He and I began an argument while my daughter Olive took their new puppy outside to potty. Suddenly, the door to the workshop where we were in kept opening very slowly and steadily as if someone was controlling it. Like, come on out here. We ignored it the first time, but the second time I had a feeling it really was someone. I felt like it was one of my angels. So I ignored my ex's argument and I walked out of the door with my eyes open and I saw Olive at the roadside with the new puppy off a leash, running rampant as two cars sped by. Maggie! I yelled to get her to come my way. I said, Olive, just run towards me. Just run towards me and the dog will follow. As they both started running in my direction, I ran in theirs, and I'm not sure which angel of mine opened that door, but two lives were saved in that moment. My lesson from this day is to not ever allow my relationships to be so distracting that I will not choose to listen to my higher guidance. We are safe and so protected unless we allow chaos to overrun our minds. And of course, the other side of action is physical movement. Circling back in here, decision making, right? Boundaries to say no to what doesn't feel like your desired outcome, and boldness to say yes to what you do need when you do discover elements that are aligned with your desired result. Phew, that was a lot. My mind kind of works with, it like springs off and connects one thing to another and another. And I feel like it comes around full circle in my mind, but maybe it doesn't quite for others. And so I just want to take a moment to connect the dots here and just thank you again for letting me be vulnerable in this episode and tell stories and just, be authentically me. And just you get an insight into the way my mind works, right? So basically, the whole concept of this journal entry that I was speaking into is that the change that we need is here and it's available for us. And we make it out to be more inconvenient than it often is. And it really just takes the awareness that there are two things that need to happen, right? There needs to be a shakeup and there needs to be like a physical act of skimming. Like there literally needs to be like your mind needs to go, actually, shake, shake, shake. That's not true. My daughter has this incredible book. I went and got it here. It's called Captain Snout in the Superpower Questions. And it's just really cute. It goes into ants, they call them, which are automatic negative thoughts. And it teaches you about the different types of automatic negative thoughts that we have and how to stop them. And the superpower questions are, is that true? And then the next question is, are you 100% sure that it's true? And I love that because it begs the question of, is the story that you're telling yourself in your mind true? Is this transition to what you are craving, what your body is telling you you need, what your nervous system is telling you that you need, is it really going to be as difficult to achieve as you're telling yourself that it is? And the answer every single time is no. It's a spoiler alert. Every time it's no. It's not that difficult. The story you're telling yourself in your head is not true because there are an infinite amount of possible realities at any given moment. Facts, right? We are always choosing the reality that we're creating. So, wrapping everything back in together, that's shaking up the pool. And then the physical act of skimming means you have to physically do something. You have to bring it into your physical reality. You have to set small, actionable goals. You have to set small reminders. You have to, depending on what it is you're trying to change, um, changing with small, everyday, consistent action is the best method that I have found. Somebody who historically was an all or nothing type person. Um, I've definitely found the way that I have been able to achieve sustainable change and growth has been through small, actionable, consistent, everyday actions. So I hope that resonates in some way. I hope that this episode helps you in some way. It's basically just me word vomiting all over you. I would apologize, but I feel like you're here to hear it. So I won't do that. Um, is there anything that I touched on in this episode that you prefer me to go into greater detail on? Send me a message on Instagram at The Responsible Parent, or you can email me at theresponsibleparent.org@gmail.com. And I am so grateful that we are connected. Now, let's go mend the planet.